Morning, YouTube. It's a brisk morning in New Jersey. I think it's opening day of trout season, but it was like 33 degrees this morning and it's kind of gray. So rather than suffer out there trying to catch a trout, I thought I'd boil down another one of my deer skulls. Now, this past season was pretty good to me. I got 3 good bucks. So what I've done is I've skinned and fleshed out a skull. You know, you cut the eyeballs out, cut the lower jaw off, and I let it just kind of hang out in the air and let it harden up a little bit before I try to boil it. We're going to boil it for probably 7 or 8 hours. Get all the flesh out of the inside and around the outside off of this thing. Once we do that, we'll have something like this. You'll have some true bone color, the teeth color, but all the flesh will be going inside and out. Once we get that, we'll move on to bleaching it. Best thing to use is hair bleach. You get a tube of hair bleach. You just give 5 or 6 coats of hair bleach and it brings it a real nice bone white color. And I add a little bracket on there to hang it on the wall. This one here lost the nose bone. We'll be careful not to break the next one off. Let me get these out of the way. Now when I do this job, I use a parabolic heater, a couple of blocks and a couple of pieces of wood, and I put a turkey fryer over top of it with hot water in it. Turkey fryer. Turkey frying pot. Obviously we don't want to set a big heavy pot of water on that little heater, so you got to crib it up with blocking and some boards, because it would just tip over and break the heater. Gotta let it heat up a little bit so the thermocouple gets happy and stays lit. Now we're not gonna really boil it. It's just gonna be hot water. You don't want it bubbling. This big volume of water outside in the cold with that heater on high gets it just hot enough to separate all that flesh and goo off of the bone. Get a couple of buckets of hot water right out of the tub. And all you really have to do is just set it right in there. And you get one more board. Doesn't have to be a board, it could be a stick. Kind of tip it up like this. tip it up a little bit just to get that whole skull submersed in that hot water. Otherwise, the back end of the skull will kind of tip up out of there, and that won't really be effective with the whole thing down in that hot water. So that's pretty much my setup. Now this is going to go at least 8 hours, I would say. Hopefully I have enough gas. And you just scrape it with an old knife. And afterwards, we'll take it inside. And I get a big tub of hot soapy water. And I'll scrub it down with a stiff brush. Scrub it real good. And scrape with a knife anything that might be left over inside and out. And that'll give you the second head. You know, just use a nice stiff brush to scrub it down with some soapy water. And then once that's all done, you can bleach it. Okay, we'll see you in part 2.